the rest of the show. Wonderful. So again, I'm Shoni. I'm the executive director of Sacred Earth Foundation, and I also often do work the school field trip programs in the spring and the fall. Usually it's an all hands on deck situation. So often I'll be part of the horse program in particular and taking the kids on their trail rides and giving their lessons, and oftentimes at the dish sink and helping with all the things that have to do with the school field trips. And I will next turn to Jenna and then Chris, and then I'll introduce Michelle. So Jenna, will you introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Jenna. I live here. I'm not associated with the school because I'm associated with Ekone. And something I have learned here is a lot more than I ever thought I would know about buying horses.
Chris, can you unmute and introduce yourself? We're a lot better at field trips than we are at technology. Promise.
Is it working?
Yep, there you are.
Okay, good. I'm Chris, and I'm Shoni's mama, and here to support all things Ekone, and have been mostly in the kitchen over the last course of many, many years, starting when Shoni was 15. And
We won't do
one
that.
of the things one of the things I just love is kind of the ongoing nature of children's experience at Ekone, that with lifelong friendships and learning about horses, and it's a very long-term thing that can unfold, and it's beautiful to witness.
Thank you. And then I'll pass to Michelle. Michelle, will you introduce yourself and then roll right into telling us all about it?
Sure will. Hi, everybody. My name is Michelle Sager. I'm the program director at Ekone. If you have been corresponding with anyone at the ranch asking questions about your field trip, it was probably me. Um, and something I have learned at Ekone is just a lot of plants. I'm a real plant geek, so there's like infinite things to learn. I'll never be bored. And I really like to spend a lot of time out on the land at all seasons to explore the plants. Um, let me try to share my screen here. Um,
You got this.
I got it. Technology. Are you seeing
Yay.
a bunch of children at the edge of the canyon?
Yep.
Hey. Um, So some of the things that I was thinking about in trying to like put together like what's a quick and dirty like show of some of the things we do. I was thinking there's like two main frequently asked questions that we get about field trips. So I just like started there and I thought I would just like go from there. So the first question is, where do people sleep? That is like a big one. So I'm going to take you all on a little virtual tour of some of our facilities. Um, we're also better at field trips than we are at like photography, marketing photography. So just these are like, just so you can like see what they look like. The second big question that I get about field trips is what's a typical day look like? So I thought I would just kind of take you through like an example of a typical day at Ekone. And then at the end, like you can ask all your extra questions. I know some of you submitted questions already, so we'll try to cover what we can. So this here is the Rock Creek Canyon. We all spend lots of time out at the canyon. It's often the first place we go because it's very exciting to see. And then we go back often, multiple times. Where do campers sleep or students sleep? This building here is the bunkhouse. It's got this like long A-frame situation, but it is one big building with a couple of different sections. This section in the middle here is what we call the common space, and it's this image here. So the common space is like cozy. It's got couches and books and games. It's kind of like a central like hangout home space. And so definitely like a lot of like classes hang out in there. We do sometimes evenings in there. And then down the long wings are the sleeping spaces. So there's two of these. This is like one side, and there's a downstairs shown here on the left with the bunks and the mats lined up. And then you can see the ladders go up. And then this photo on the right shows the loft space. So we also, there's no mats in this picture, but there's like, you can line up mats along the floor and fit a bunch of more people up there. Each wing can like each of the like sections can fit like 10-ish kids. So like 10 on the bottom, 10 on the top, and then the other side of the bunkhouse as well. There's also, I don't have pictures on here, but if you look at this photo on the left, you can see on the ends there are these little rooms here, one on each side. We call those the dens. Usually like teachers sleep in there. But it kind of depends. And how students are arranged for sleeping is up to the teacher because they know the students the best. So overnight, like teachers and chaperones are the main, like the first resource for students. And so the kids are all broken up into groups for the activities during the day, but often teachers will like also arrange where they're going to sleep. Sometimes they don't. That's up to your class and the dynamics really of the class. Because we're only with the students for like 2 or 3 nights, we are, and we have, teachers and adults who know these kids, we utilize them to kind of like let us know like what the dynamics are in the class and what we need to be watching for. So this is the bunkhouse. In the common space, there's also like a sink and like toothbrushing stuff. But we also have some bath. Oh, it's not the next one. The next one is where do you eat? And here we have the Yummy Tummy Cafe. I was experimenting with 0.5 photos and this one turned out kind of awkward, but it is beautiful, beautiful building. Both the kitchen and the bunkhouse are, and one of the bathhouses are our newest structures. The old kitchen looked very different from this. It was, and like Chris can tell lots of stories of the old days before there even was a kitchen at all. And then there was the old kitchen and now we have this beautiful building. We've only been using it for programs for 2 this seasons. I think this coming up one will be our 3rd season using it. So we are very grateful to have this big, beautiful kitchen. Students can sit up and down these long tables. Sometimes we have more tables. Sometimes they're arranged differently. They come in, wash their hands here, and then line up along this like serving counter and get food. We do have we get a list of dietary restrictions from all of the families. That's like important. We can accommodate pretty much like most standard dietary restrictions. Any students that have any like needs beyond like a kind of basic, like no dairy, no gluten, vegetarian, anything like stepped up a little more, our kitchen manager might reach out to your family and double check to make sure that we understand what, like that we know all the things, or like set up an alternative plan if that's ever necessary. But we are like keeping track for sure. But we do also offer at meals no thank you servings. So as you go through, you can say, yes, please, I would love some, and you get a nice heaping spoonful. Or you could say no thank you. And as long as you don't have an allergy, we will often give a teeny tiny little bite of that item. And I'm seeing some familiar faces down on my screen. So hi, Leela. So that's kind of how the kitchen works. We also have some cleanup crews, but I will talk about that later when we talk about the day. Pretty exciting part of the kitchen. The food is like all very like kid friendly. We've, kid Chris has been serving kids for 25 years. Like we're pretty good at like having options and knowing what kids will eat. These are our bath houses. So we have two. This little cedar one is like the older one, much beloved. This bench is a very important place for people to sit and we'll look at the pond. The blue one is our newer one. It was built in the sort of construction era of the new kitchen and the new bunkhouse. And I, again, down here on the bottom was experimenting with my 0.5 photography, tried to take a picture of the inside. Just to give you a sense, both of the bathhouses have like a couple of stalls and a shower and sinks. So they are, and they're both right near the bunkhouse. So you can kind of access one or the other in the night or like what, during the day, obviously from anywhere, but they're all kind of like huddled around the same zone. The lodge is like our kind of like most historic, beautiful building. It's actually the first thing you see when you arrive, is this big octagonal building. And we use that as our main gathering space. So you can see a lot of kids around the circle. We meet there in the mornings for morning circle and in the afternoon as well. So we like gather there, we talk about our day. That's like where we will like learn songs or have sharings about how the program is going. We talk about like challenges and like exciting things that are happening and kind of like get grounded and centered to get onto our day. And that's kind of my tour of the facilities. So make note of any questions you have about facilities. We'll come back to them at the end. And next I'm going to talk about like what's a typical day at Ekone field trips like. The one of the things that is like fun and exciting to me as someone who works there is that it really depends. Like there is no like exact how a day could go at Ekone because everything that we do really depends on what's going on at the ranch. Like, what are the projects that need to get done? What are the new animals that are here? What are, there's like all of it is based on like the season and the needs and all of those things. So kids can come back, again and do like a similar like schedule and get a completely different experience, which is also fun for us because we do a lot of these. Over here on the whiteboard is kind of an example of like what a day would look like. We get up, we have breakfast, we gather for circle. There's like a morning chunk of activity time, like a 3-hour chunk. Then we have lunch, a little break, we call free time. And then we gather again, have an afternoon chunk, and then have dinner and usually like a short evening activity before bed. We always make sure that whatever the sessions are, like in this is like one day, group one is only doing a couple of the activities. On the second day, all of those groups would do the same activities the other way. Like we try to always make sure that everyone's getting all of the different things. On our possibilities lists of what could be on the agenda are different kinds of service projects for the ranch, lots of different ways that we can explore around the land. We are on a little over 1,200 acres of, oak pine habitat along the edge of the Rock Creek Canyon. There's like a lot to explore. We have many types of animals and we like to spend time with them. They are cute and fun. And also we do chores together, which is fun, I promise. That is a big part of our philosophy is that chores can be fun. Service projects can range to a lot of different things. They're kind of in the category of like, what are the projects that need to get done that take many hands that kind of serve the bigger picture of Ekone? Like these kids over here, like hauling in firewood out of the woods, we're stacking them in the wood sheds. Like that's for next winter. That's going to keep all of our staff warm over the winter. On the left, we've got kids planting seeds that will grow over the course of the season. So service projects are sometimes kind of like for the good of the order, like, for the good of all. We all have to pitch in and work together to make this place work. Some other kinds of fun things we do are lots of cooking projects in the Yummy Tummy. So these kids are making some pasta, but we might also do like zucchini bread or make wontons or pickles or kind of whatever the kitchen needs um, for the menu. The cooking projects are pretty fun because then you usually get to eat them like later that day or the next day. So that's pretty fun. And we often do a lot of projects in the kitchen. Out on the land, there are like lots of ways we can get out there. One way that's been fun lately is we've been doing a lot of wayfinding and using maps to find our way from place to place. So here, both of these photos are the same group of kids. And they were trying to find their way from the lodge to Mazar's Pond, which is like pretty far, like it's a distance out onto the land. So we got maps, we got compasses, we learned how to use them. Um, we figured out how to like orient ourselves to the map. They had to work together, make decisions, find their way there. So on the left here, they like got to a stopping point. They're like, where do we go from here? Like, do we turn left or right? And they had to like stop and figure it out. And then at the end here, they finally made it to Mazar's Pond. They were really happy. It was really fun. We also just go out and explore. So like sometimes we look for bugs or we like on the right here, we're like becoming like in relationship to the forest with all of our senses. And we're really just like out there to like see what's out there, find the questions we have, answer those questions, be excited about the woods. We also have lots of ponies. So pretty much all of our school groups will spend some time with the horses. A lot of like really meaningful like hangout time. Jenna here, I don't know if she said this, but she's our horse manager and she knows like possibly every bit of information you could ever know about horses and is really good to like is really fun to hear talk about them. So she's out there, she talks about their personalities and why they eat the food the way they eat it and like all that kind of stuff, how to greet them, how to be safe, of course, and all their like little quirks. Horses have a lot of politics. That's another thing I've learned at Ekone. I was not a horse person before I got here, and I have learned that there are politics. So here's a camper greeting one of our like beautiful horses named Ember. Here's another just like hanging out. We're petting them. Some of our horses are small, some of them are big. We've got a whole wide variety of very, very cute horses that are all the best. So, um, all schools that come pretty much will get some amount of time with the horses. Some schools opt, or like there are many various reasons why this may or may not be what happens with your school, but some schools do ride. So we go on a trail walk with the horses and or we don't. Like I said, some schools do, some schools don't. If you have questions about like why that would be, we can talk about that. There's lots of factors, staffing, budget, time, number of kids, etc. But sometimes school groups go on a trail walk, and that's also pretty exciting.
And sometimes there are unicorns.
Occasionally, there's unicorns. So all of these things are happening like your class would be like broken up into groups, right? Like 4 groups or something like that. Each group is, you know, doing different activities and they rotate through them. So you might go on a wander in the morning while other groups are doing something else and hang out with the horses in the afternoon. And then the next day you might do like the 2 other activities. So that's kind of how it works. In the free time after lunch, you might be wondering what is there to do during the free time? And I'm going to tell you right now that every one of the students is doing this. It is a very, very important part of the Ekone experience is to hang out at the rope swing. We have a couple, we have 3 rope swings. Technically, one is like pretty small and it's more to like hang out on, but we have 2 that are like longer, bigger. And you like the kids could do this all day long. Obviously during free time they can also like hang out with some of the other animals. I have some photos of like, though we've got like cats and things like that. Take a rest in the bunkhouse, craft, play games. Like there's like a lot of variety, but I am confident that the vast majority of your students will be doing this. So here we've got Ozzy. He's following all the safety rules. His boot is on the seat, 2 hands on the rope, 1 kid on the swing. He's doing a great job, having a fabulous time. It's really hard to get pictures on the rope swing, so this one is like, I love it. Meals. Here we have a kid very excited about Pancake Day. It's always a big hit. So for every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, all the kids will come through, they'll eat their meals, and then each activity group will rotate through helping with chores. So we have like dishes, we wipe down the tables, we sweep the floors. We're doing like a lot of stuff to keep the kitchen wrapped up from the meal and keep it clean. And every group will rotate through like once or twice over the course of a field trip. We definitely have kind of like a community philosophy that like working together towards a common goal, sharing the load is how you build healthy community. And we really strive to find the fun in everything that we do and make chores fun as well. So all of the students will be on a chore crew at least once, and they will probably talk about it when they get home, washing the dishes. The last couple photos I have here are just of some of our other animals that are around. Last year we got 2 kittens. The little tiny one in the back is Willow, and this one is Aspen. Now they are full-sized cats, but they still love attention very much and are very much looking forward to field trip season. Sometimes we get baby chickens. We also had baby ducks once. I couldn't find any cute photos of it, but ducks, you just never know what kind of critter might be around. Here we got the big full-size chickens. Also, the lizard is not like a ranch animal, but we did like meet it and hang out with it. And Pickle is a highlight. Pickle is my dog, and she's starting to become like an elder member of the community, but she also is very much looking forward to field trip season. She's on the greeting committee, and she loves to hang out, especially with kids who are like feeling nervous. That's like her favorite job. So she is very good at her job. Here I just have like in the evening, sometimes we play out on the lawn, big group games. Sometimes we hang out in the bunkhouse and play board games or do crafts, or we have like music and story night in the lodge. It's kind of a variety of options. So it is hard a little bit to explain a typical day, but I'm hoping that that gives you like some of the rhythm of how it goes. And I think that's all my photos. So I know that there were some questions already submitted and wondering if you all have more questions for me and for us.
Maybe you could, yeah, perfect. Thank you. If you have a question, feel free to just unmute yourself and pipe in. There's not so many of us that will turn into chaos.
Can I ask a
Navina?
question?
Yep.
So since we're going with the school, is it one school that goes at a time or are there multiple schools at the ranch at a time?
Great question. It will just be your school. You're with Cedarwood, I think. Was that right? Yep, it will just be that'll be the Cedarwood 4th grade class during that window of time. Our bunkhouse, like that's it for sleeping. So that's about as many as we can fit. I think there was one parent here from Catlin Gable, and they bring, I think it's like 2 classes at once. So they like pack out the bunkhouse full of 4th graders. But like a lot of times it's just like, your class has, I don't know, 20 kids or something. So it will just be your class.
Good question.
Yeah, it's a great one.
Okay, another question that was submitted in advance was about bullying and catty name calling and exclusionary behavior. Michelle, can you speak to how we handle such things?
Sure. Um, well, there's like two things that are happening with class dynamics. School field trip's very different from camp because at camp, everyone arrives, they don't know each other. We have to like make them become a community. School groups come and they already have established dynamics and politics just like the horses. So one of the things I'm doing is I'm in a lot of communication with the class teacher over the course of the time that the students are here to double check on all of those things. And like come up with the plan together that we are going to be implementing between like my staff and the chaperones. So that's one thing is I rely heavily on the inside information of the people who already know the kids. In general, like when there is any kind of like bullying or exclusionary behavior, our strategy is really kind of a like notice it gently and redirect. So like a lot of times I'm asking someone to like try again, like, oh, maybe like try to rephrase that, try again. Or, there's just a lot of like noticing, like pointing it out gently and like moving on. That's like my strategy. If there's ever like issues, then I would usually call in support from the teacher or the chaperones to like have like a separation for like a window of time to like talk it through with someone who knows them better. But usually it's not so bad.
We tend to get the best of kids at Ekone. While they're at Ekone, they do tend to be on like really at their best. They're generally really excited to be here. They're excited about everything that they're doing. They're really busy all the time. There's lots going on. They're stoked about it and they want it. They want to spend time with the horses. They want to be doing all of the fun things at the ranch. And so that tends to bring out their best. Not to say that dynamics can't arise here like they do everywhere, but we do tend to get the best of kids, which is nice for us. Another question that came in advance, Michelle, was if you have any insight about preparing kids and families for their overnight trip to the ranch. And also especially in recognition, I imagine that for a lot of kids, this is their first big overnight trip. Not every class, but for many, this is kind of a big deal.
Yeah. I think that like talking through just like expectations of what the day will look like. I think that kids generally feel better about their life when they know what to expect. I mean, adults as well. I also like to know what to expect out of my day if I can help it. So like I think letting them know like what the structure of the day will look like. A lot of times like teachers are really like planning for success in terms of like putting kids in groups with kids that they're going to succeed. Um, some other things that are kind of like off of the like a typical, like maybe it's not something to think of, but coming prepared with the right stuff can be really helpful. So we do have a packing list. We like send a packing list out. We spend like the entire day outside pretty much. And sometimes that's at like a really cold time or a really hot time. And so making sure that we like all of the students have layers and the right clothes, comfortable shoes. Um, that kind of stuff can go a long way, like from the like Maslow's hierarchy of needs kind of deal. And also like anything that is like really like sweet and special, like I definitely would recommend bringing like your favorite stuffy, your favorite blanket, your favorite book, like anything that's gonna like make it cozy for you, especially like around bedtime. Bring it. We do not have, we don't allow for electronics. So if that's the cozy thing, like maybe try to find something that's like soft to touch instead. But keep that in mind. And also that's another like expectation that you might want to like talk through with your kids if that's something that would be hard. And yeah, and just knowing that you're going to be there with your class and with your friends and with your teacher who already knows and loves you, and with a bunch of adults who are there to help you. I always like make it a point during like orientation to like make sure that kids know that like we're safe. If you like need something, we have it. If you forgot something, it's here. Like so yeah, I think just those kinds of conversations, letting them know that like it's a safe place. There's gonna be a lot of animals and a lot of fun stuff, and all of your friends will be there too.
This is kind of a switch gears question, but so I'm thinking kind of like older middle school and high school are sort of like in my realm of things. And I think like my schools would be really interested if there's opportunity. Is there opportunity for students to learn about the solar power operations?
Yeah, totally. Not from me because I know nothing about it. That's lasers and wires, but Liz, our operations director, knows all the ins and outs and sometimes does like give like tours of the powerhouse and how it all works. But another thing too, in general, like I always work with the schools that come if they have like special requests like that. So sometimes teachers will be like, we're learning about this. Can you like work that in? And I'll be like, sure, or kind of, or whatever. So definitely like if you have a class that's like interested in something like that, just like let me know. And then we would like work out the details of what that would look like. But yeah, there's like a lot to know over there. It's like power and all kinds of things. Yeah, that's a great question.
And we do school field trips for middle and high school groups as well. We've definitely had a number of middle school groups come, and high school we haven't done as much like educational field trips of the manner that Michelle just described, but we do have a high school group that comes and does a solo rites of passage program out on the land. And so there's just all different kinds of ways that this land and the staff and the animals and the whole system here can meet and support kids wherever they're at, from real little ones to real grown-up ones. And everybody in between.
And we have had some high school groups come that we run the programming for. It's fun.
Mhm.
I like it.
Well, that's right. We have. It's been a minute. That doesn't happen as often.
It does
It
not.
seems like third, fourth, and fifth grade has been kind of our most common age group in recent years, with the occasional middle and high school sprinkled in as well. The biggest limiting factor for us is our schedule. The weeks of the year just get booked up pretty fast. Kelly?
Yeah, I am here because I'm getting information. I don't have a field trip scheduled yet. So I just wanted to ask the question about pricing and how that works. How much does it cost to come to the farm or to the ranch?
It can depend. That is one of the budget considerations with riding, because that takes a lot more staff to manage riding safely. But typically, at least as of now, like this, you never know, like things can always change. But for our current pricing structure, it's about $100 per kid per night, or 130 if they're gonna ride. So if you can like consider that budget for your school.
Margaret?
Yeah, Margaret.
What is the writing like for school? I think Cedarwood's writing.
I believe,
What
yes,
is what does that look like or involve?
Maybe Jenna or Shoni would answer this question.
Jenna, you want to pop in?
Sure. This has evolved over the last handful of years, and a couple years ago we had a light bulb moment and we realized this is the way to do it. And this happens to us a lot. But in terms of field trip riding, the way that we have found that works best for the kids and the horses is to give them a lesson. The lesson starts with a little bit of a ground orientation at the hitching post where the horses are tied and snacking on some hay, and then we're tacking them up with usually bareback pads. Most of the riding we do here is bareback or with bareback pads. But once they're on the horses, we kind of immediately start teaching them. And we used to do our lessons like in a round pen where we were kind of walking in circles all day. It's nicer for the horses and the kids if we can basically have our lesson on the trail. So we leave from the hitching post and we immediately head to the trails and we teach them a couple things at the very beginning. And then we pause, and then we teach them the next few things that they need to know. And then we pause again, and we teach them a few other things until we get to the point where we've taught them skills X, Y, and Z. And with those skills, they can, for the most part, communicate with their horses pretty well. And then if the staff member with the horse, because we have one staff per horse in these events, if the staff member with that horse gets the sense that the kid is communicating well and the horse is being agreeable, then they will ask the rider if they would like to be unclipped, because this whole time leading up to they're on a lead rope. But we get to a point where we ask them if they would like us to unclip. Some kids say no. It's just that feels like too independent for them. Most kids say yes, and that with varying levels of enthusiasm. And then we get to unclip them dramatically, and it feels independent for them, and it's just still nice for the horses because they still have their person to make sure they're, you know, where they should be. And it's a really fun way of seeing the land between a horse's ears, which is my favorite way.
Yeah.
And
Another
sometimes we do get kids who have riding experience at home, and then they get unclipped more quickly. If they're already balanced and they already have a sense of rein management, and they can translate their skills that they've learned at home or in their lessons to the way that we do things at the ranch. I mean, there's always some translation that needs to happen because the way that we do things is different than anywhere else, as every horse place is. And so they have to learn some things about how we do it, and then they get more independence faster. But it's a taste of riding. It is not like very, it's not a very involved lesson. It's a taste of riding in a very supervised kind of way that we can do in a safe way and get everybody out on a legit trail ride, which is a cool thing. If you've never been on a horse before, which most of the kids who come through Ekone have never been on a horse before, that their very first riding experience, they get to go out on a bareback trail ride, is pretty rad.
Mhm. And
And
I do think that like that is a thing. If you do have a kid who does do a lot of writing, that would be a useful thing to talk through with them before they come. Like they're not gonna be jumping the horses. They're gonna be like on this trail ride with, and they're gonna learn like to come with a beginner mindset that, we do things differently than the way you're coached at home. So that kind of like helpful encouragement could help expectations for kids who are more experienced riders as well.
yeah, one of the questions we ask ahead of time when we're getting to know them at the horses is we just ask about their riding experience. And especially if there's a number of kids that have experience in that group, then I will just make a point to just say to the whole group, like, I just will implore them kindly and plainly to like come at this with a beginner's mindset, because every horse place that you ride at will have a little bit of a different horse language, and that goes over well. I've not had kids be too sassy about it, so.
And in our riding program, there's always a lot to talk about and share with the kids. Like, our horses are barefoot. We ride mostly bitless. We're riding mostly bareback. There's a lot of rationale behind those things. The way that we're keeping the horses is as we're emulating as close to a natural lifestyle for them as we can. We're feeding them out of hay nets. We've implemented this track system for them so that they've got lots of room. There's lots of innovations that we're doing to care for our horses in the best way that we can, and we love to share about that with kids. So even the groups that don't ride horses will often still get to spend time with the horses from the ground, and so they're going in with them, they're getting to know them, they're learning about their body language, they're hearing about some of the different things that we've learned about horses, and Jenna is a really excellent like interpreter between the horses and the kids, explaining like what they're thinking about and how to connect with them and communicate with them in a non-demanding and authentic way. And it can be a really sweet thing. I think that sometimes the groups that don't ride have the most meaningful experiences with the horses, because they get to spend more time on the ground with them in a more relational way. So it's very sweet.
So I'm going to be one of the chaperones with the Cedarwood team, but I'm just looking at all the pictures, like the horseback and then the wayfinding and all of that stuff. How do parents or the chaperones and the teachers, how are they involved in the activities?
That's a great question. That's something I probably even should have addressed because it's really important and good question. So the number one responsibility of the chaperones and the teacher are to supervise the kids overnight. So like from bedtime to the morning. And I will also like help your class teacher like set up those conversations. Like sleeping in the bunkhouse is like an exciting time, everyone all together. So overnight and also during the free time. So the rope swing, like usually like a couple people stationed at the rope swing, somebody in the bunkhouse, that kind of thing. Those are the times when chaperones like that's your job. We're not doing that, you know? During the activity sessions, there are sometimes requests of the staff in those sessions for a chaperone to come, like oftentimes if the class is riding, then sometimes we need, we've got a lot of staff with all the horses and we need like one more adult to be with the kids who are not riding during that time. That's like often a request. Or if there's like only one staff who's like going out into the woods, we might ask for a chaperone to join. Um, and otherwise, other than those like specific requests, chaperones are welcome to join during the activity sessions. I think it's useful to be with a group that doesn't have your own child, to like let them have their experience and like you can have like a, objective like observation time. Um, and also like you're not like during like also it's important to find some off time during your day because you are on overnight and during the free time. So I always encourage like as a unit of chaperones for you guys to like figure out your schedule if we have extra asks, like if we need an adult for horse time, like why don't you guys all figure out who's going to do that when you're also going to make sure to get like some break time. We often will do like most of our activity sessions with just our staff needed. So there's always lots of time.
It's also important for our staff to develop like a vibe with the students. And one of the things that we started doing just a couple of years ago is right after drop off, after we get settled in the bunkhouse and kind of organized for our welcoming hike, is that we split the kids from all of the adults. We take all of the adults, the teacher, the chaperones, everybody in one direction, and the kids staff take all the kids in a different direction so that we can start to get to know them so that they can start to like relate to us and we can get a sense of like, what's this group like? And they can get like grounded out on the land. And then generally I or another one of the staff that is less involved with the kids will take the adults on a hike and get them grounded on the land and answer any of their more grown-up style questions and talk about how the week is going to go and give you a little break from that long car ride out or whatever has just happened with you on getting out here. So that has been a really nice addition to the mix, is a little bit of split up time. And we encourage chaperones to like when you're not requested for an activity period, like you're welcome to come with us if you want to, but it's also good for the kids just to roll with our staff and cruise along on the activities that have been planned for them. So use that as a break time. Highly encouraged, because night times I think are long in the bunkhouse for these groups.
Yeah.
Can I ask another question about like what is, from a staff perspective, the most ideal length of time for a group? And then how big is the ideal small group that the class is divided into, especially for riding?
Great questions. Length of time can depend on your class, like some, especially like younger, like sometimes like our third graders will come for 2 nights and have like one kind of like full day at the ranch. And that can work really well. Unless it's a really small group, that's not probably enough time to ride because like what's a good like group for riding, Jenna? Like 6.
Yeah, 6, so, potentially up to 8, depending on how many like ground support staff, but it's nice to have multiples of 3 or 4.
Yeah. So like if you can imagine like a kind of standard class of like 24 kids split into 6 or 4 groups of 6. Like that's a pretty like good model. Obviously class sizes range a lot, but like that's kind of like the picture perfect situation. In a group like that, yeah, I think like younger kids, like sometimes 2 nights is like plenty. Um, I think like a 3-night program is kind of like our like most standard typical school field trip. Then you come one day, you get 2 full days, and then like the morning. And then you can get like some longer activity time. Like then you spend the whole morning doing one thing. Sometimes in a 2-night trip, you do like 2 things in each activity session to kind of make sure you get enough time or enough groups spread around. Some of our older classes will come for longer, like the high school group we were just talking about, or the middle school that is coming this spring. Like they're coming Monday to Friday, you know, and it's a big group. It's like multiple classes, 2 classes, I think. So it really depends. But I think that like the 2 to 3 night model is pretty standard. If that is helpful.
Thank you.
Great questions.
Mhm.
Any more questions? I'm looking at our list of advanced questions, and I think that you've covered them. Oh, Mom, could you unmute yourself and share about a couple of the meals that we like to cook for school field trips? You can do it.
Okay.
Yep. Oh, but
Um,
now you turned off your video.
sure.
Oh, there you go. Yep. You're good.
Very, very untechnical here. But yes, we often will have the welcoming dinner for the kids be pasta with red sauce, because that just seems like comfort food. And our long timers kind of know to expect that on the first night. And we, of course, can do gluten-free pasta and have things a la carte so the kids can get it just the way they want it. And oftentimes that rolls into the first morning being pancakes, because that's another familiar thing that kids tend to love. And once they're kind of in the groove of, oh yeah, the food here is good, then we feel a little bit more free to be a little more experimental and throw in extra veggies and tofu and peanut sauce and that sort of thing. But the kids are outdoors and active, and they come in with really great appetites. And so it's mutually satisfying because they are hungry and kind of open to some new things. And it's fun to feed them.
And it helps when they help make something for dinner, you know, like if they help make the wontons, they're probably going to eat them.
Yeah.
Classes that come in the fall are often harvesting the food from the garden and bringing that into the kitchen, and that also increases its deliciousness significantly. And all of the food in our kitchen is like, it's pretty great. It's like cooked from scratch. It's a very like non-cafeteria kind of experience. If the food always feels really good. Okay, any closing questions or closing comments? Because we're just about at time. Sarah. Oh, you're muted.
There. Yeah, I just wanted to reassure all those moms out there, the food is great and the kids are in outstanding hands. I can't say enough about Ekone, and the kids have a very full and meaningful experience. It's really wonderful.
Thank you, Sarah.
Oh, and the staff is just fantastic.
And I second all of that. My kids love all the food, and they even love the chores.
They don't
I'm
always
trying to-
act like it in the moment, but
I'm trying to figure out how we can do an adult retreat
experience
there.
at Ekone, they came back and said, I loved the chores. It was so much fun. And from that moment on, we were in.
Well, and I did
Um,
just hear someone say like we should have an adult retreat there, and we do have some. So we've got a couple different variety. We've got like you can just come and kind of like stay here for a few days. There's a weekend in May where that's set up. Jenna runs a program of horse connection from the ground. In the fall, we do an adult trail ride camp as well. That's very popular, and also another like kind of just retreat style time. We also have work parties through the winter and the like fall, winter, spring. And you come out for the weekend and like help with a project and you stay, you can bring the whole family. Those are really fun. And we also host other groups, like other organizations that run adult retreats here as well. So all of those are listed on our website. They're pretty fun. We like having grown-ups too.
Love it. I'll close with just a word of love and caution. Some of our staff and our best friends and people that have gotten very deeply involved with Ekone over the years, including our current board chair, started as school field trip participants. So your child's school field trip participation could become some kind of a lifelong involvement with this place, and we would not be sad about that. Okay, I think that that's a wrap. We're going to say goodnight. If you want to unmute and say goodbye, we'd love to hear your voice. Thanks so much for joining us, spending a little bit of your evening with us. I hope that this has been helpful. We'll share it with folks who were not able to come in person, but really nice to meet some new friends, see some old friends, and looking forward to our season of school field trips.
Thank you.
Okay, good
Thank you so
night.
much. Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Thanks for coming. Have a great evening.
Rosie,
My
so
friend.
cute.
Hi. It's so fun.
You should definitely bring your kids to school here.
I know. I try. I I didn't get the link for this. Like I would have shared it with them sooner, which would have increased. But I did send it to like the program directors at their school, so that'd be super fun.
Yeah, okay, great.
Anyway, good to see you guys.
Yeah, you too. You look cute. Tell your family we say hi.
Yeah, I will. Have a good night.
Bye for now.
Bye.
I think I have to end it.